Don't look at my hair. Don't even look at my hair right now, okay? I didn't have time to fix it at all, and I'm just going to talk about what I want to talk about today. And the thing that I want to talk about today is friendships and how big of a deal a good friend can be in your life and how much change that can make and how much positivity that it can bring. Because honestly, this may just be how I feel, and I may not have evidence to back this up, but it seems like for the majority that like in-person actual friendships are on a decline. I feel like a lot of people are choosing to connect online, and like that's just not the same as connecting in person. And I have an example that I'd like to share with you specifically. But I just want to preface this entire conversation with that. The whole reason why I'm talking about it is because I feel like a lot of friendships are tending, a lot of not even just friendships, but relationships are tending to only kind of take place on your smartphone or on your PC or just online in general, while in-person relationships are just happening less. That's how I feel. Maybe it's not accurate. I have no data to back it up. That's just how I feel. That's what I've seen. That's what I've perceived. So let me tell you about one of my friends that I know is not going to want me to mention their name, but let me just tell you about one of my friends and what they've done for me. So back in December, I had somebody reach out to me and they said, hey, there is this very large car company, supercar company, and they are looking for a new editor. And I pitched them your name and you have an interview with the CEO tomorrow. which is just insane, right? Like that's like how crazy is that statement? By the way, my voice is really hoarse because I think I'm sick or something. To be honest, I don't know. But anyway, I got that message and immediately started preparing. And it was just by chance that I told one of my friends who's very into cars. It was just by chance that I told him about this, and he instantly his eyes lit up. Because not only did he recognize the company that I was talking about, but he also loves cars. So he said, "You know what we should do is I had my first interview. So like that's like a very minor part of the story. I had my first interview. It was basically like an introduction, and it went very well. He liked me a lot, the CEO. But he said, you know what we should do for the second, more serious, the next round of interviews is you should come over to my house, and I'll sit down with you." And we'll talk about, because I know nothing about cars. Nothing. Literally nothing. Or I didn't at the time. Now I know a bit more because I'm kind of getting fascinated with it. But I'm getting sidetracked. He said, let's get you prepared to kind of speak the car lingo. And I'm going to do some research. And I am going to get you prepared for this interview. I'm going to get you prepared for what you need to know. So first off, how nice of a comment is that? Like how nice of a sentiment, action, how nice of a person is he? You know what I mean? And so I was like, wow, that's so nice. To basically sacrifice an entire afternoon, that's so nice. But my expectations were basically non-existent for me showing up to his house. My expectations were that I would show up and we would start brainstorming together there, and he would essentially prepare nothing, which I'm kind of foreshadowing what's happening. But after a while, he basically, through WhatsApp, through texting me, he basically let me know like he was getting really excited to do this. And I was like, that's cool. Cause like I am obviously very interested in this, but because it directly pertains to me, like it relates to my life. And eventually I arrived to his house on the day that we scheduled, and I walked in and he handed me a 17-page printout, a 17-page printout of all the information about the company that I potentially was going to be working for. And it was a printout of all their competitors, and it was a printout of all of the possible YouTube channels that could help me prepare for this interview better, and a list of a whole bunch of names and a whole bunch of details about everything and how much money, what can I argue for my salary? Because this was a position where the salary was kind of like, it was penciled in. It wasn't necessarily permanent markered in. So I could there was a little bit of leeway, and I can kind of argue and make a case for how much I think that I'm worth as an editor. And he printed out essentially what Google ads, what it would cost to get someone, if you were to pay Google to like run ads, what it would cost for one click onto your website or whatever. And he's like, you can use this for arguing your case for how much money you think you're worth. I think you can get way more than what they're offering, or what their initial base salary is offering. 17-page document. That's the whole thing. And not only that, we sat down and we looked through all the YouTube channels that he wanted to show me for ideas for, what the ideas that I could use for car social media, essentially. And and we spent the entire afternoon. It was 4 to 5 hours. Maybe even, I think it was like 6 hours. The sun set. Like I got there at like 2 p.m. and the sun was setting when I left. It was like 8 p.m. or 8:30 or something. So, I mean, and this guy, he works a job. He works from home. He works his own thing, but he spent 6 hours just sitting there helping me prepare for this with a 17-page printout. But that's not where it stops there. I recently bought a new car, and there's going to be a new video coming out about this, and I think this new video is not only going to be the most viewed video on this channel, but I think it has potential to be the most viewed video that I've ever made in my entire life. We'll see. I mean, this video is living proof of that prediction. Maybe it'll fall flat on its face and I'm totally wrong. I highly doubt it, though. I highly, highly doubt it. There's been a lot of careful thought that's been put into this. But I knew that I wanted to get a new car because I could just tell the car that I had right now, the car that I still currently have that I'm trying to sell, I could just tell that it may be on the end, maybe at the end of its life. Maybe. There's some subtle signs. I felt like the universe was trying to tell me something. And I reached out to the same friend, obviously. Why would I not reach out to the same friend after how meticulously he prepared for that afternoon? And I said, hey, listen, I'm thinking about buying a new car. You want to run me through how, because he's big into cars. You want to run me through how you look at Carfaxes, what you look for? Because I was originally planning on buying a used car. And I had not even considered buying a new car. And I had not even considered what a financing payment would be or what a lease payment could be, and how actually affordable it can be. And I'm speaking, this is just me personally. I mean, obviously, I understand not everyone can, I'm not saying anything about that. But I didn't understand how affordable it was for me, I should say. Anyway, I went over. He had a bunch of reasons. He had 5 different Carfax pulled up for 5 different cars. All learning examples. So he was like, this shows an example of what's a red flag. You don't want to find a car that has this. This is an example of what to look out for. This can be something sneaky. And this is an example of what a great Carfax looks like. I'm thinking about buying this car. You know what I mean? He just prepared for it so meticulously. And then he dropped a comment at the end of that conversation. He said, now, you've already ruled out, he was kind of asking me, he goes, and I'm assuming you've already ruled out buying a new car, financing a new car, leasing a new car. That's off the table. And I'm like, well, you know what? Honestly, no, I haven't necessarily ruled it out. I just haven't even considered it. Because for me, guys, like most of my life, I've grown up, and even still, I'm not trying to, I swear to God, I'm not trying to flex at all, because I'm still living a very, very humble living. But like most of my life, I had not even considered the fact that I would be at the point where I could think about a new car. You know what I mean? And he pulled up the pricing for financing and for leasing for a new car, for like a new Toyota or a new Honda, which reliability is so important to me. Like, I don't give a shit about if the car looks, well, I do kind of care about if the car looks nice, but I don't give a shit about if the car can perform. I just care about if it's going to last me a long time and if it's going to be a good car. And he pulled up some lease payments and some financing payments for Toyotas and Hondas. And I was like, holy shit. It was like $350 a month, $300 a month, which again, I know, I'm not saying that's like not a lot of money. I understand that's still a good chunk of money, but it's a way less than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like $800 a month, $1,000 a month. And so that kind of put that on my radar. And then I said, you know what? This sounds like a better play for me, honestly. To lease a new car, that sounds like a better play for me. And he introduced me to a YouTube channel that talks about specifically haggling car deals from new car dealerships. And he helped me through the entire process of buying the car. And I'm talking like when I was bartering, when I was haggling with car dealerships on the line, I could hang up the phone, call him, and be like, hey, here's where we're at right now. Here's the deals that I have. If they match this number, could you drop everything you're doing and come into the dealership with me so that I don't get scammed or like something doesn't go over my head, then I end up paying more money than I thought. And he's like, let me just check some things. Yeah, I can do that for you. I can drop everything and come into the dealership with you today. I can drop everything that I'm doing. And not only that, the first time that I went in to test drive the 4 cars that I had in mind that I wanted to buy, which I'll just tell you what they were. Toyota Corolla, base model. I can't remember what it's called. Toyota Corolla, whatever the base model is. Camry LE. Yes, Camry LE, the base model of the Camry, which is now a hybrid in 2026. Honda Civic LX, Honda Accord LX. I'm not sure if the Accord is also called LX, but the base version for that. And then also the hybrid. There was a Honda Civic hybrid that I drove too, base model. And I ended up really loving the hybrids. But I was like, you know what? I'm going on a tangent. Let me just say this. I ended up loving the hybrid, and that's the one that I pursued was the hybrid. Either the Toyota Camry LE, the base model, which is a hybrid, or the Honda Civic hybrid. By the way, W Honda. I love Toyota, but W Honda. And he came into the dealership with me, sat through the entire afternoon, sat through everything with me, sat there and listened to the car dealers try to kind of scam me into a price that I shouldn't probably be paying. I had a really bad experience with Toyota and a pretty decent experience with Honda, an okay experience with Honda and a really bad experience with Toyota. But anyone who knows me knows that I like anytime I can get angry or like someone across from me is getting angry. It's just a part of life you don't get to experience very often. You know what I mean? It's like, how well do you know a person if you've never been in a fight? Not to quote Fight Club. I'm not saying I was fighting with the dealers, but like I wasn't getting into fist fights. But it's just fun to kind of get into that combatant mode a little bit. I don't know what that makes me, but anyway, the point is, this friend of mine has willingly dropped everything they're doing to sacrifice so much time to come help me, and they didn't have to do that. And whether or not I ended up getting a good deal does not affect them. And whether or not... last thing. He also helped me clean my old car to get it spotless. He helped me for 4 hours clean the new car. And then he took out his $4,000 camera that takes 48 megapixel pictures. We went to the top of a... parking garage at 7:15 p.m. because the sun was setting. All of this is what he's saying to me. All of this is his advice. The sun's setting, that's when the pictures are going to be best. And he took like 40 different pictures at 40 different angles of my car, the interior and exterior. I mean, we deep clean my car. We deep clean the exterior, we deep clean the interior, and he helped me throughout the entire process on a 94-degree Texas sunny day. And he didn't have to do that. So that's the last thing that he did. And the reason why I'm saying this is I'm not necessarily, what I want to emphasize is not necessarily what he's done for me, but I want to emphasize how much it means to me. And I want to emphasize how selfless of a person that I think he is and how much that friendship means to me. So let's just say hypothetical, okay? I'm not necessarily going to speak opinions about what's better and what's not. But let's just say, for example, that I didn't have this person in my life, and most of my friendships took place online. And, most of the time, my time was spent in Discord chat or Discord voice chat or whatever. And I didn't have anybody that I could turn to in person to help me with something like this. It would have been not only a much more stressful situation, but a much more lonely situation and a much less productive situation. Just the stress alone... The stress alone and the time that I would have spent, let's not even talk about the time I would have spent. The stress alone would have been like 10x, 10 times more than I experienced. But to be able to have somebody there with me in person, walking me through their advice, walking me through what they've done in the past, and just kind of sharing that struggle with me, or at least that challenge with me, made it so much easier to go through that. And not only that, but the time that I saved and the fun that I had doing it. It basically kind of took a stressful experience and made it into something fun that I could pass time doing with my friend. And I just feel like our relationship is that much stronger now. Our friendship is that much stronger now because of what he's done for me. And I tell him every single time that I see him now, I'm like, if there's anything that I can do for you, if you need a 4 a.m. ride to the airport, if you need whatever, if you need help cleaning your house, if you want help cleaning your car, if you want anything at all, please let me know. And I know that's not why he's doing it. He tells me that every time. Every single time he just smiles and he goes, "Oh, I'll let you know if anything comes up." And knowing full well that he's probably not going to ever say anything to me because that's not why he does it. You know what I mean? But I just want to emphasize, like, I think for me personally, I'm not, and I'm really, I'm truly, I'm not trying to preach, but for me personally, being able to have that in-person friendship like that with somebody so selfless is has and is actively making my life so much better. And not only that, I feel like our friendship is stronger, and I feel like we're becoming closer. And he's kind of turning me on to his hobbies. You know what I mean? Like, I was never a car guy, but just seeing how passionate he is when he talks about it, and just hearing all the fun facts that he knows because he's so into cars, it's like, how can you not be interested in it? You know what I mean? How can you not be interested in something that somebody's so passionate about and knows all these interesting things about? How can they not turn you on it? So by circumstance, right? By that logic, or not by that logic, but by that subsequencing of events, we're also kind of now being able to share a new hobby together with it, which I think is cool. For me, a new hobby; for him, a hobby he's had his whole life. And again, I just want to mention, this is coming from somebody that used to not really ever have any interest in going outside, because it's not that I didn't have interest in going outside. I always wanted to, and I always wanted to meet new people, but I always assumed it would be an unpleasant experience, and I always assumed that I would always have a worse time going outside than if I just were to like stay inside and play League of Legends or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that was my game of choice 3 years ago. And it's also just so much easier. You know what I mean? Like, every time you step outside, you take a risk. And are you actually going to enjoy your time, or should you do the safe thing of staying inside and loading up your computer and booting up League of Legends and playing 20 ranked games that day? You know what I mean? That's like, say what you want, but for me, that was the safe thing to do. And I don't recommend it. Because I was like, now that I'm kind of like learning what the other side is like of being, of staying inside and never choosing to go outside, and always assuming that I'm not going to be able to make friends, or always assuming that people aren't going to like me, or whatever thing that I was making up in my head that was really just like, a part of my brain that was talking to myself, and not necessarily like what reality was. You know what I mean? I can say now that I'm learning what life is like on the other side, that I was like objectively less happy 3 years ago than I am now. And it also, like, doing what I do, like being a content creator and doing what I do, it is, there's always going to be some negativity that you see. I don't know a single content creator that like doesn't have some negative comments or some negativity in the comment section, or in their chats, or in their stream chats or whatever, talking to them. And what I tend to find, and I've said this before, but what I tend to find is, like, if someone has a good grounding base in reality, I think that they can tend to deal with that negativity better, because they realize that like stuff that happens online just like doesn't really matter that much. You know what I mean? If you just like don't go on social media, or like don't engage online, you kind of start to realize that like all of that doesn't really matter, which I know sounds ironic coming from somebody who's making their entire living off posting things online. And I get that. And like, I understand that even you could even argue that it's hypocritical that I'm saying this. At the same time, I think that I believe what I'm saying. And yeah, I just think, I've kind of been reflecting on that friend for a while now. Like I said, we really started getting much closer 6 months ago, back in December, or I guess almost 7 months ago now. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I think this one friend that I'm talking about is just such a great example of how powerful in-person friendships can be, and just how much better they can make your life. And it kind of inspires me to like, it inspires me to try to do the same thing for others. And, you can, what I'm learning is you can say as much as you want. Like, you can say like, hey, I'm here for you if you need anything, as much as you want. But if that person is anything like me, sometimes it can be kind of hard to reach out and ask for help. So I think what my friend that I just talked about does really well is he's like, hey, let's do this. I think we should do this. Here's the date and time. Here's what I can do for you. Come over and we'll figure it out. And so it just makes it kind of lifts that burden of even having to ask off my shoulders. And, now that I'm honestly thinking about this right now, I'm like actively realizing I should start doing that for other people too, that I know and that I cherish their friendship with. I hope this. Again, every single time I turn on this camera and start talking, I don't know if what I'm saying is making sense or like if I'm making a coherent point. But I hope that I got my points across. And thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments. If I missed anything or if you want me to explain anything, let me know in the comments. And I will see you in tomorrow's video.